For many years now, Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
Hey, welcome back to Dunkin' Donuts here. I am enjoying, it's spring.
It's spring. And everyone knows that in springtime, a young man's fancies turn to thoughts of what? What do you eat, Russ?
Donuts. I like, I want something, in spring I want something light and airy. I'm going to go with the French cruller. The French cruller is a classic.
That is a classic.
I really like it, so that's what I'm eating. It looks like a tractor tire for those of you who do not know what a French cruller is. Lightly glazed, very airy donut, very light donut. Still chock full of calories, but a little bit lighter than the average heavy donut.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Rafe was on. He's not now. So here's I think we should do. We should catch. Rafe's always asking us, "Hey guys, what games you still playing? Are you still?" where is that game you played with me 2 years ago? Are you even looking at that anymore? What's going on there? It's time for another episode of Where Are They Now, Craig?
Where are they now? Where are they? Where are they now? Where are they now?
Yeah, I think you need an auto-tuner, but yes, that is right. So what we do here is, as you may know, longtime listeners, we've been going through in the Lost Chapters and picking up episodes from years ago and counting up what games we still play from that time period, what we think of those games, has anything replaced them? And so when we last left off on this little project, we had reached the end of 2011, so episode 94. So now we're going to pick up at episode 95, which marks the very first episode that we produced in 2012.
Yeah.
Craig, what were topping the charts in 2012? Take us back to that time period.
Top of the charts in 2012, Russ, well, we started with Eclipse.
Yes. I mean, music. You got to give people the sense of, the time period. Can you sing a few bars of a number one hit from 2012?
No, I can't.
Number one hits 2012. I think this is a new segment now. We're going to add a list of Hot 100 from 2012. So you might remember songs like "I'm Sexy and I Know It." See? Seems like
there you go.
only yesterday. We were singing that song. Only yesterday.
Titanium, Give Your Heart a Break.
Sexy and I Know It came out January 7th.
There you go.
Yeah.
Payphone. Something like that. Call Me Maybe.
Call Me Maybe was a big thing.
There we go. That's what got me into trouble in the breakfast.
See, back
in the Dungeons and Dragons breakfast.
Back when you remember these songs, you will also remember the hot game that was released in January 2012.
Somebody that I used to know. That was a good one.
Eclipse. As you mentioned, Craig, Eclipse. Eclipse, of course, is the 4X space exploration game. And I can say with confidence, this game still makes it to the table quite a bit with me.
Yep. And I can say with confidence that it does not make it with me.
You never really loved it.
No, I didn't. I enjoyed it when I played it the few times I played it to review it.
So as I mentioned on the show for many times, I started Project Obscuring Luna. The whole goal there was to build out my models. Because I love the game, but I didn't like, in the core game of Eclipse, there were not any cool ships. All the ships were the same mold plastics. There were peat plastics found in many, many other games. And one of the cool things about Eclipse was that it had all these really cool different alien factions that were asymmetrical, different powers, really neat. And so I felt like the ships of the aliens should reflect that. So I tried this long, drawn-out, unsuccessful attempt to take some of the ships from Firestorm Armada, which at that point in 2012 hadn't seen a lot of play from me lately, and I was trying to make them work on the Eclipse tabletop. And I never really got it to work. The ships were a little bit big. They were top-heavy. They fell over a lot. But there have been several Eclipse releases since then, and my particularly favorite Eclipse expansion is the ship expansion, which is kind of pricey, but it includes brand new plastic ships for all the races, including some of the expansion factions. And these have new sculpts for 3 new sculpts for each faction, along with a special star-based sculpt. They're all plastics. They're all different colors. You don't need to paint them because you can tell about the colors apart. Of course, you could paint them if you wanted to. Some of them look like Borg cubes. Some of them look like, Flash Gordon type spaceship. It really adds a lot of depth. it just makes the game feel more exciting. Now, in this particular expansion, there's really not much else. There's like, I think, one new race they added in there, but really it's all about the ships. And I think this really makes the game and brings it back to the next level. There's been a couple other 4X space games since Eclipse, but I don't think anything eclipses Eclipse yet.
Ooh,
See what I did there?
clever.
Yeah. So I would still say Eclipse is a fantastic 4X game, and if you are following the Jones theory of 4X space games, you could do a lot worse than Eclipse. It's a good choice for that slot.
Yeah. So, I know. I do know it's big still, and I have seen it at the table. I just haven't played it.
Yeah, well, it's your loss, really. I'm not going to.
It is. I fully agree and admit to that.
So then, what was next, Craig? What happened in episode 96?
Now, very interesting. 2012, I'm going to say, was a relatively thin year for us with reviews.
Really?
Compared to a lot of the reviews. We've got several months in 2012 where we only did a single review.
What? What were we
January
thinking?
was one of them. Of course, January usually is a little thin.
Well, because we
usually do the
predictions.
We usually do the predictions.
Do you remember who
episode.
won the prediction episode in 2012?
That one? No, I don't. Why do you?
I
think it was probably you. I don't think I've never
won
one, and I can't remember Rafe ever winning.
So let's move on to episode.
Okay, so February,
which 97. Ooh, we did review something in episode 97, Craig.
We did.
We reviewed Savage Worlds.
That's right, Savage Worlds.
Now, Savage Worlds, we had played several different games, and in the third chair was Cody Jones and John Mitchell, formerly of Game On.
Oh, yes.
That was a great. That was one of the first times, or the first time we ever had two people in the third chair.
Yep. Yes.
So
I remember that.
That was a great episode. Anyway, if you haven't listened to it before, go back to episode 97 and enjoy the sultry tones of Cody and John. But also what we did was we did review Savage World, the RPG. And Craig, have you played a lot of? We've played a lot of Savage World since then, but recently we played any Savage World.
Recently we played Accursed.
You did.
Watson's Savage Worlds offering. And I know that Rafe is actually running a Savage Worlds version of. I love that he doesn't call it Warhammer 40,000 Savage Worlds. He actually calls it Dark Heresy Savage Worlds, which is intriguing to me. But he plays a Warhammer 40,000 Savage Worlds campaign, which they are actually they're like 4 or 5 sessions in now.
Now these are homebrewed rules, right? Non-IP infringing.
These are these are IP trampling homebrew rules.
All right.
Where Rafe is using the standard bog standard
trampling.
Sci-fi elements of the core Savage Worlds rules.
All right, very cool. So so it's doing very well. I know also that our friend Ian still plays for the Nerd Herders, plays lots of Savage Worlds, and he's trying to restart up our Deadlands game that we did way back. We did that back when we reviewed this episode. Actually, they reviewed the Savage Worlds. So it's still, I think it's safe to say, Craig, that it is one of the go-to RPG systems in our local group.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I think it's
a lot of play. So definitely great one.
And there's big plan. Every one of us has big plans of running some Savage Worlds thing someday.
So Savage Worlds still hot, still a great system. Still so much you can do with it. Fantastic RPG. And if you can only ever own one RPG system, I would say Savage Worlds gives you the flexibility you need for that kind of a commitment if you wanted to.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
So then, Craig, what happened in episode 98?
Well, in 98, we were joined by Dan Yarrington in the third chair.
Oh, that sounds like familiar.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And we did an in-depth review of Rex: Final Days of an Empire, which, of course, is the Fantasy Flight retread of Dune.
Arrakis desert planet. Yeah. I can't help but think. Now, it was Rex is a fine implementation of that game. It was a lot of fun. I played it several times since then. It hasn't made it to the table much since then. I don't know why exactly, because I do like it, and I like all the components. I even dry burst the ships and everything there.
You did. I remember that.
But I kind of feel like it would make it to the table more if it actually was themed as Dune.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
This is my theory behind this, because we just played Firefly again recently. Had a blast with it. And really, the Firefly mechanics, while fun, that game is made because it is Firefly.
Right.
If you took the Firefly board game and reskinned it as something else, I would be less interested.
It never would have made it to the table last night. I guarantee.
Exactly right. When I opened up that expansion and saw Jubal Early in there, and you could play him,
you were
in
like,
his
"Oh
ship,
my god!"
I'm like, "We're playing Firefly. It's Jubal Early." So this is the same problem. This Rex, which looks cool. It's got a Kilrathi like race on the cover. You gotta love that. But you go in there, and the components are fine. The mechanics are cool. Even the fluff that's been translated from Dune still works because there's ships bombing you instead of the storm. I get all that. It makes sense. But I want to role play Harkonnen or Paul
And
Muad'Dib.
if you know about that underneath the surface, that's what it was, then you can't, you're almost like playing.
Yeah,
it's like you're seeing double almost.
Yeah, you see it because the theme for Dune is so strong, you see it there.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what, the whole time we were playing it, that's what we were doing. Like, oh my god, I can tell exactly what this is supposed
this faction
to be.
Is these
it's
guys.
like a secondary game is guessing what you're actually supposed to be doing.
So it doesn't hurt it from a mechanics point of view, and it's a fine game, and that added trader mechanic in there they put in there is really slick, but I do wish it was Dune, and that actually turns me off. So I own my copy, still have it. I'd play it again. So I was like, I gotta play some Rex today. It's a fine mechanics. It's just I wish it was Dune.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I think that hurts it. All right. So that was
February. Who joined us with episode 99?
Ooh, now we're in March.
Yeah.
Episode 99 in 2012.
99 in 2012.
I was jumping ahead for a whole year.
No, don't jump a whole year ahead.
No. 99 in 2012. I'm in the wrong year. I'm in the wrong year again.
Angelo was with us.
Oh yes, thank you for saving me.
Angelo took his first turn in the third chair March of 2012.
Yes,
and we were discussing. We did a Plaid Hat Games duo that day.
Yes, we did. I remember that now very clearly.
Yeah. Summoner Wars and Dungeon Run. Now, Dungeon Run I liked, and you weren't a big fan.
I did not like the Dungeon Run.
And I must say, it hasn't been played since.
No, Dungeon Run, I believe Plaid Hat has made some tweaks to Dungeon Run to try to improve it.
They have, yeah.
But here's the thing. Summoner Wars
is a great
fantastic.
Game.
A great game. My daughters still play it with me now. When they come down into my game closet there, they look in there, they see Summoner Wars. Dad, we're playing Summoner Wars. Play some Summoner Wars. I was really kicking myself. I didn't bring it camping this last weekend. My youngest daughter loves it, and we had some time alone while Mommy and my oldest daughter did a puzzle, and I was like, oh, we could do this, and I didn't bring it. Great game. It's got a lot of depth to it. They've added a lot more, even more factions now. There's like a gajillion, I believe is the technical term.
I think that is the technical term, and they're all much easier to find.
There's a fantastic iOS application to play Summoner Wars now on your phone or your iPad to keep good while you're...
Keep current.
Yeah, keep current. It's just a great game. Fantastic two-player game.
Comes out almost every game day.
It does. Also a great four-player. You can side by side. It's actually a lot of fun team play. I highly recommend Summoner Wars. A great game. Plaid Hat knocked it out of the park with that one, no doubt, and it's still rock solid.
Yep, absolutely. And Dungeon Run, like I said, I enjoyed it, but there's been so many dungeon crawl games that came in that same general time period, and it sort of got buried under that. And there's a lot of competition in that particular niche now, if you will.
Then we hit the big episode 100.
I thought we should be doing huge things with 100. I thought we should be doing like some major contest, and we really did nothing.
No, we did best moments of the show, and we had Rafe back on, and we talked about a Rafe roundtable, and that was it.
Exactly.
So it was a good episode, but
it was a good episode,
didn't review any
no games were reviewed.
No games at all were reviewed.
No.
Then, though, in April of 2012, 101.
Oddly enough, there was, I don't know how this happened. There was only one
episode
in all of.
Once in a while that happens, we get eddies in the space-time continuum.
It's just weird. I'm telling you, 2012 seems like a very anemic year for us.
It was a tough year for us, but it's okay because this game, I don't think, I'm going to tell you the name of the game now in episode 101, and you are pretty much all going to go, played it yesterday.
Within a month.
Played it the day before. Yeah. That game, of course, was Lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Now, this game has stood the test of time. It is a fantastic worker placement themed D&D game, and it's great because I remember when this came out, people bashed it as, it's just a copy of Kalis. There's nothing really great here. It's a reskin.
I've never played Kalis, and I've only ever heard of Kalis in that context.
You just do not see Kalis.
No.
You know what you see? Lords of Waterdeep.
Lords of Waterdeep.
You see Lords of Waterdeep everywhere. And I can't
It's
tell
another
you,
example of theme conquering other competition.
But you know what's interesting about this is, and I know I'm going to get emails now, so it's okay. But even though the theme, I do agree with you, Craig, the theme definitely carries it for gamers because it's not like farming or whatever.
Right.
But because the mechanics are based on some tried and true things that were pioneered with Kalis and other games, you've got a really solid Euro here that people seem to like, even if they don't know about Dungeons and Dragons or care. You also get non-gamers love it.
Oh, my wife loves this game.
Yes, it is. I get emails all the time from people saying, finally tried Lords of Waterdeep. You know, my wife loves it. My friends who don't even game love it. For me personally, my two girls, this is their really only Euro game they actually, well, that's not true. There's also a couple others, but this is one of their main go-to Euro games. They really like this a lot. They fell in love with it immediately, and they didn't really get into the whole D&D aspect of it. They just thought it was really cool. So great artwork. It does everything right. It's easy to play. Have you played with the new expansion, Craig, much?
I have played 2 games with the expansion, and it's intriguing because, well, it's 2 different expansions. I think I only played with one, which was the one that kind of like has curses or negative elements.
Skulls.
Yeah, skulls. Whatever they represent. And I completely avoided that aspect of the game because I didn't understand it, and I was completely capable of avoiding that aspect of the game. So it looked like everybody else was having fun with it. I didn't have to do it. I was still having fun. I think I won the game.
There you go. See?
So I've seen it played and I've heard really good things about it, but it's one of those games, especially with Karen doesn't generally like expansions. She never gets to these games often enough to want she wants to have fun with the game she's familiar with. So whenever that happens, it's always going to be without the expansion. Quarriers being another example of that. And so it's not really a big draw for me, particularly as far as the expansions go. But I've heard nothing but good things about the expansions, and we played last month. So
yeah, I've played. A few weeks ago. The thing about it, I do like about the expansion. My favorite part actually is not all the new mechanics; it just adds another player, and an extra player doesn't seem to slow the game down too much.
Right. I have played with the extra player.
So I do like that a lot. I think that alone is worth the price of admission. I also do like the skull mechanic. It is a little bit confusing, but it's actually really slick because what happens is as people, you can kind of take the skull, you get these missions that give you more stuff than you should get, but you get this skull. And the skull is essentially negative points. But the amount of negative points the skull can be is flexible. It's dynamic, depending on how much skulls have been taken away from the board, from this little track.
No, I loved the way it was working, and I was really loving the fact that I was not actually involved in the skull manipulation.
Yes. So
as they were like disappearing and people were starting to lose points, and I was like,
So the skulls plus some of the new cards you can play at the port there, those together give a little more, even more player interaction to the game, if you like that kind of stuff. So I really like it a lot. I like Lords of Waterdeep. It's fantastic. With the expansion or without, I'll play it any time. Do recommend the D&D pulls. Find those. Bring your game out.
You must. Yes. And we actually have 2 sets of D&D pulls that we will have to be giving away.
We have to give those away. It's time for a contest.
It is time.
Not in the Lost Chapter. We'll do the main show.
No, we promised we wouldn't do that.
Good. So, okay. So that was April of 2012. So it feels like it's time to go to May, Craig.
I think that is how the calendar works, Russ.
So let's see. Well, you know what happened in May?
What happened in May?
Is that looks like here we go. So we threw a
lot of things
interview.
happen in May. Actually,
we tried to kind of make up for the fact we only had one episode in April. That's the problem. So first of all, this is interesting, Craig. Ready?
Yeah.
This is kind of a hot topic right now on the internets.
Yes.
So in episode 102, we talked and reviewed Dust Warfare.
We did indeed.
So this is Craig and I. It's May, so we've returned from an April Adepticon yet again. That's probably was only one episode because we were in Adepticon.
Yep,
we returned from Adepticon yet again, and now we're like,
that was the year we.
That was the year we went all into Dust Warfare,
and we made Romeo play a game with us.
We made Romeo play a game, and Romeo was in the third chair.
Yep.
And Romeo called them all Gumby dudes.
Yeah, he was not a fan.
He's not a fan of the models, but. The mechanics for Dust Warfare, I love. I actually do like the models. I like the art style.
I love everything about this game.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with this game, except I did say when we reviewed it.
You did.
And this was in May of 2012.
When you said it, there were only 2.
There were 2 factions, and I said we need 4 factions within a year.
Yep.
If we can't get to 4 factions within a year, we're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
They got a 3rd faction out in, I think it was a little over a year.
I think it was.
And then they stopped.
Yep.
So it's now 2014, so it's been 2 years, 2.5 years.
Sadly in limbo now.
Yeah,
also.
and it's in limbo. And since then, it's been acquired by Battlefront.
Yep.
So Fantasy Flight Games was the original guys behind this. It's now...
Well, no, it's weird. It's Dust Studios.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated.
Makes it, and then they've got production and distribution scattered, and it was Fantasy Flight for a while, and then that fell apart, so now it's Battlefront. But at the same time, right now, there's a Kickstarter going on
right now
for the next major expansion in Dust Tactics with like a warfare, a nod to warfare, which makes me and many warfare players and fans very nervous that warfare isn't going to, is either just going to go away eventually,
right,
or is at least is not going to be receiving the love it was supposed to be receiving from Fantasy Flight. There's a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter has nothing to do with Battlefront. It's all Dust Studios.
Yeah. And that's my biggest fear too, Craig, is that I don't actually, we tried again this past Adepticon 2014. We had, I forget the gentleman's name now. I feel really bad. He demoed for us.
He did a great job.
He did a great job demoing for us Dust Tactics.
Yeah.
And while I like some of the improvements, I still don't like it as much as Warfare. The grid system in Dust Tactics,
I don't like it. Period.
Really
and
knocks
I love
me out.
Warfare.
So if they go this route of sticking with tactics, for me it feels like it's a mechanics that I can't get into, and it's too bad because I really like Warfare. So I really hope that Dust stays on the Warfare side. I haven't played in a while. I would like to. We were just talking about this, Craig, the other day. I want to play more Dust Warfare. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would love to get the aircraft. I'd love to get into it. I need a fourth race. If they come out at Gen Con with a fourth faction, I think I would have a trouble not getting things going again. But right now, I'm worried. I need to see support for Warfare. I'm nervous that it's
well, that's the thing, Russ. I stand by what we said in 2012, which was this could rival 40K, and it could make a huge splash in the miniatures industry if they get 4 factions out there and they seize their opportunity, and they did not.
You're right.
That was my big problem with them is they didn't seize the opportunity. They really dropped the ball. Not only did they not seize the opportunity, but everything then started to stutter stop.
Right.
Who knows what was going on behind the scenes, because soon after that, they brought out the Chinese-Soviet alliance.
Yeah.
And that was cool. They had helicopters. They made a big splash with the aircraft on that one. But very soon after that, it was like, and thud.
Yep.
And I don't want that to happen. I want this game to be great. I have played it, not recently, but I played it a little while ago. Mm-hmm. I still love it. I love the models. I have them all painted up. I am right now, this is the sad thing for me is I'm right now in the Kickstarter looking at the Russians. I'm actually in for an early bird on the Russians to try to pick up some Russians. I don't think I'm going to stay in it, though. I can't justify spending even $150 on a game that I don't get to the table very often with the faction that I have.
Right.
And so I love this game. I love this game still. I want to play this game. I would love this game to succeed. I'm very nervous that it's not going to.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. So, cautiously pessimistic.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
So
cautiously
sadly.
pessimistic. Great way to say it.
So, episode 103 in May, though we didn't review anything. We had Colby on, talked about the origin of Plaid Hat Games. Always a good episode with Colby on. We love that. But no games reviewed there. So we move on to June. 2000.
Well, no, there's a D6G bonus episode where we did the interview with Mac Martin about Dust Warfare.
Yeah, right. That
was all exciting. And then we had Colby Dosh come on and talk about Summoner Wars in Dungeon Run.
Yeah, here you go.
That must have been interesting. Right after we did the review. So so then we jump to the next month.
Yeah. So then in the next month
we're in June.
So June we had episode 104, which was a Mulling Mechanics episode.
Ooh, we had 4 episodes in June.
Yeah, we had a busy June. Then in June we had Core Worlds. Core Worlds is a Stronghold game. I like Core Worlds a lot.
I have never played it, and I haven't played it since.
Rodney Smith from your Watch It Played was on there for us.
Yep.
We got to have Rodney back on again. He's hilarious.
We absolutely.
That should happen. Anyway, so we talked with Rodney about Core Worlds. This is a great game. It is I haven't played it in a little while now. I should. I would love to get back to the game. I should show my girls this game. I think they like this one. It's a nice 2 to 5. It's a deck builder, but I love the artwork. I love the theme. I love the execution of the theme. You're basically building a galactic empire with your deck and taking over planets, and eventually you're going to get to the core world. So what's cool about it is there's stages of the galaxy you go through. So you start out in like the outer rim, and the planets there are cheap and not very valuable, and you grab some of those, and players compete for grabbing those. And then you move to the next stage in the industrial worlds, and the players they get a little more of a. And then you get finally to the center of the galactic area, the core worlds, the worlds that are really, really valuable. And you fight for those, and they're worth the most victory points. And hopefully you've got the right combos where you get the right core world that really boosts you over the top and to beat your opponents. But it does feel like you are invading a system and you're taking things over. And basically each player is playing an invading faction trying to slice up and get their share of the invasion. So a lot of fun. I just love the artwork. It's so cool looking. Like the art style. It kind of reminds me of the old video game Homeworld. I really like that too. So I would love to play more Core Worlds. That's a good one. I still own my copy.
There you go.
And there's been a great expansion also that actually I have not gotten to the table. I'd love to because it gets really good reviews. And I think a lot of people still like Core Worlds. So it's a very well-received game. Okay, so that's Core Worlds. Although honestly, I don't see it much in our local gaming store, so I don't know why it hasn't captured the hearts and minds of a lot of the deck builders we have locally. So I'm not sure why that is, but
could be most of those are fantasy guys too.
That could be,
or apparently superhero.
Right. And then 106 we also had in June, but that episode was mostly about metagame, and I believe we had Rafe on again to talk about his documentary efforts.
Yes,
so that was June 2012. Moving on to July.
I'm telling you, see, this was a very scarce year for reviews.
I guess you're right there. So let's see. So July was another one of those one-episode months there. Didn't quite work out. But here we go. So
we did 128 and 129 in July.
2012?
2012.
No, you're the wrong year.
I'm in the wrong year this time.
Only episode 107. 107. So in July 2012, we did only review one game, but it was a pretty doozy. We had a preview of Descent 2.
Yes.
Now, we should go back and do Descent. I think we need to do another review of Descent 2. I say this because I think Descent 2 has materially changed with all the expansions that make it even better. And I know there are many people out there who tried Descent 2 and, unlike me, did not fall in love with it immediately.
Right.
And I think we do need to talk about some of the new mechanics, not now, in a future episode. I think Descent 2 needs a revisit. There's been so many expansions that the game is actually different than what it was before. It has evolved and become more than the sum of its parts. And so I think we should review Descent 2. Suffice to say about Descent 2, still playing it
Russ
like crazy.
Pretty much every week.
Pretty much every week I play Descent 2. So the most played board game I own by far. Then we also reviewed Leviathans, Craig.
Yes, we did.
So this is the giant floating battleship game where battleships float amongst the clouds by the guys who made MechWarrior, our friends at Catalyst Game Labs.
Right.
And Tom Bassel, of course, from the Dice Tower joined us, and we talked about this.
Yep.
Now, we had mixed feelings, I think, about Leviathans when we reviewed it. I think
sure. I'm not. Were they mixed? I mean, I think from my memory, I remember saying that I can see why other people would enjoy it, and tried to give it an unbiased review, like an unbiased rating, but I myself did not enjoy
love it. So I liked a lot of the core mechanics. I liked where they were going. My biggest problem with this game is that all the ships look the same. If I'm honest, it's not mechanics that bother me at all about this game. All the ships look the same. All the factions look roughly the same. I mean, they went a realism route. Yeah. You know, they went, which is funny coming from a game with giant flying battleships in the clouds. But they went, what I mean by that is, in real navies, ships don't really look that different, right? Like, you look at a Russian ship, it's not like
somebody like Chris Weave can tell them apart, but the rest of us really
can't. The rest of us are all like, that's a battleship, that's a battleship. Maybe it's got 2 turrets versus 3 turrets and 4 stacks versus 2 smokestacks or whatever. They did the same sort of thing here, but they're not materially different. And as a fantasy sci-fi gamer, I've been conditioned that all my armies look radically different. I want, space elves and space orcs and space humans should all look radically different. You don't have that feeling here, and me personally, that hurts it. But if you're, what people would like, though, if you're a historical gamer or a hardcore gamer coming at this, where things are historically accurate, yet they fly, gives you a little whimsy to it, you might really like this. So, but yeah, it does not get any play locally.
No, it
at
never
all.
did. It
never took off.
It never
locally with
even
us.
got any buy-in.
It really didn't.
I don't think a single person bought this game locally.
No. So I don't think it's been a runaway hit for our friends at Catalyst Game Labs. I think they're focusing on
I
other
didn't
things
like
now.
it because I don't like hex games.
And
So
that
if I'm
could've-
playing a miniatures game,
Yep.
Except Dead Zone, apparently,
Yes.
I don't want to be locked into any kind of artificial structure. I want to have free movement.
There you go.
So that was
So
that.
then in July of
That was
2000
July.
Was that July 2012?
That
it
was
was July.
July.
So we're in August.
Yes. So
August
Gen
2012.
Con. So that's going to be sparse.
Well, except that we got Gen Con.
Oh, this is intriguing.
So here's what happened in August. This was a big month for us.
Yeah.
So we jammed in August 3 episodes,
Yep.
and all of them had reviews.
Yeah.
So, and many of them had more than one review. So we went crazy. We kind of were like apparently we were feeling like we're behind and we need to get some reviews out there. So we did.
Right. Yeah.
So first of
And
all,
we were behind.
We were. First of all, in episode 108 in August,
Mm-hmm.
we did. Now this is sort of very timely, isn't
This
it?
is extremely timely for several different reasons.
We had our friend John Yakface Regulon, who of course runs dakadaka.com. He came on and gave us sort of a history of 40K, Warhammer 40,000 through the years.
Which I thought was awesome.
And we did a fantastic job. If you are a 40K fan and you have not listened to episode 108, please do. Not for us, for John. The man is a walking
He is.
40K
Which makes
file.
what we're about to say even more poignant.
And then we reviewed We reviewed
Sixth edition of 40K.
Warhammer 40,000.
Which churns my gut even more that I just spent $100 on 7th edition.
Now, doing the math on this,
Not even 2 years
we
ago.
know this came out in August 2012, probably July 2012, because we probably bought the book in July. Right. It is now May, or by the time you hear this, May, maybe June 2014. Yep. So less than 2 years away, or but roughly 2 years, is another edition of 40K, which might be a record for them.
I think it might be. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It used to be 4 to 5 years, it feels like, per edition. 2 years is pretty aggressive. So that tells me either 6th edition did not do as well for GW as they'd hoped.
Yeah.
Or they have done minimal changes to it and just wanted to put it in the book to make a lot of money.
Right.
I don't want to be cynical, but it's one of those two things, right? I mean,
well, I'll tell you, I tried to read the rule book for 7th edition.
Yeah.
And I got through most of the changes are so like technical and minor that it almost gives. That's probably why I have a headache. Digging through, looking for the like you're sifting through 9 out of 10 points you already know and they're the same, and the 10th point is slightly different, and then you have to try to figure out why is it different, what's different about it, how is that going to change the game. So I think there's a lot of little subtle changes. There's nothing major that I can remember. Other than, well, there's a couple huge things, but those are things like army makeup and things like that. And it's intriguing because where is 40K now? 40K from I didn't play it, Russ didn't play it. We didn't really. I mean,
we played it a bit when it first came out.
Right, but we didn't stick with it.
No,
I played in a campaign. I think I did one campaign with 40K. After 6th edition came out, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't run to play again after I was done. I actually did several little mini dust campaigns that I tried to constantly keep excitement with that going,
right.
But I didn't do anything with 40K. When we talked to John at Adepticon just last month, he actually said with 6th edition, that was probably going to be his last 40K event, and he's the man who ran the rules compilation, the guy that pretty much was in charge of how 40K was played at Adepticon, which was then the way that was adopted by almost every major tournament in the United States. So John's impact on 40K in North America cannot be understated, and that guy, central to this whole culture, didn't like 6th edition so much he decided he probably wasn't going to play it again after Adepticon.
So I think I would love to have John back on the show and talk about 7th edition,
right?
Because I wonder if reactions from diehard players, tournament folks like John, is the reason that 7th edition is coming out so quickly.
Right.
Did they fumble the ball in ways that, and again, I don't play it enough or at all to really know the intricacies of what 6th did. I do remember that 6th moved in a direction that a lot of us didn't like. Yeah. Because we liked the direction that 4th and 5th were going, and 6th felt like a step backward to a time that most of us didn't care for as much.
I enjoyed it. I know you really didn't enjoy it.
I did not. I felt like it was the wrong way. And in fact, I owned the collector's edition of 5th. And again, when 5th came out, I was still already, I'd already burnt out in 40K for a while now. But 5th felt like a game that could lure me back in. Yeah. It was more my mental baggage that prevented me from getting back into it, and I liked it, and I owned that copy. When I played 6th, I just didn't do anything. It was like, check please. I didn't bother me. 7th, I haven't even cracked the book. I don't even know what it looks like, and there has not been an edition of 40K since 2nd edition.
Yeah. I think this is going to be the last one I buy.
Yeah. Hey, I had a question for you real quick on this. Obviously we're not going to do a 40K review here, but the last book, while I didn't love it, I did like the art and the colors. The new books doesn't even compel me. It's like very white and kind of a boring.
Yeah, they went with a stark look. It looks good, and it's all of a piece, if you will. The design of it. Inside, it's great. Inside, it looks just as cool and colorful. But the actual design of the books is very well. There's 3 books in a hard case slip. Is what it is. First of all. And there's 1 book of just rules, which is roughly the size of one of their hardcover codexes now. Yeah. So you're not carrying around that 400-page tome necessarily. Yeah. Then there's 1 page of just like the modeling aspects with the different factions broken down and what the models look like. And then there's 1 book that's just the fluff.
Huh.
So they've tried to make they've tried to make like a collection look of it.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of rumors about how they're going to adapt the starter set that of course comes with Chaos versus Dark Angels. Yeah. And that's only been around for 2 years, and that's not paid its for its molds yet.
Right.
And so the theory, or what they've said, is they're not coming out with a new starter set. Mm-hmm. And it's newly produced ones will have a new mini rule book in it. Right. And there's a couple different rumors about what they're going to be doing with all of the existing product. And none of them sound to me like anything GW would be willing to do. So it's very curious what they're going to do. But yeah, it's and that in and of itself is kind of like, well, yeah, I could spend $50 on that 400 book, or I could spend $80 on 3 separate books. Is what they've. I've been a little sour on them for a while now. This is really, to me, I'm really getting resentful as I read the book. I don't need the fluff book. I've got the friggin' fluff memorized. I've written some of the fluff.
Is it new fluff? Is it new or is it reprinted?
Not that I haven't. To be honest, I haven't even broken open the fluff book. I broke open the hobby book just because it's cool, and you can see a lot of the new models that they kind of tease and stuff like that. But even the models are not compelling to me anymore. Yeah. I mean, some of the Space Marine models that came out when they just redid that codex were so silly. Mm-hmm. And over the top and chunky, and I don't know if writing for 40K for Fantasy Flight did this to me, or if it was just I just reached critical mass. But I'm scheduled for an all-day 40K event on Saturday, so in 3 days I'm scheduled for this big event, and I'm excited to go hang out with guys. But in my head, I'm like, oh God, how much cooler would this be if it was Dead Zone or Dust?
Right.
And and it's not Dead Zone and it's not Dust. It's 40K.
Well, maybe you'll learn the rules and it'll be awesome. You'll get sucked right in.
Maybe it will. That's why I wanted for the listeners. That's why I wanted to do this for the children.
All right. Well,
that's why I'm spending my entire Saturday playing 40K.
We'll get your full report on achievements of gaming.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Cool. So and just for the record of where 40K is right now, our local group at our current store where we play Myriad. It comes in spurts, so there'll be a spurt where people will be all over it.
Small spurt.
But there's
a game store within 20 minutes
where
and they play it all the time.
So yeah, it's still got a huge following. It's still the big kid on the block, but I think there's cracks in the wall. That's what I would say. All right, next up, episode 109.
So look, so they didn't take a full year to get the SSU out.
No, they didn't actually. So we reviewed a bunch of stuff.
A few months.
Well, I think to get all the models that you needed, though, that was the problem, right? So like anybody,
there were a bunch of models that came out in August.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is in episode 99, we did a triple discussion. One of them was the Colossals book came out for War Machine, so we talked about that. It was actually basically the expansion episode. We talked about Colossals book for War Machine. We also talked about the Dust Warfare SSU book.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about the War Room app as well for Privateer Press. So we did three things. Really, the big things here, of course, Dust Warfare, SSU came out. Not all the models were available, but as Craig said, a lot of chunk of them were. And we were excited. I have been resisting, even now when I walk by the SSU section of the store, I'm like, oh, SSU. But we don't have a dynamic community planner right now, so I feel like I would just buy it to buy it and I wouldn't be able to play it.
Exactly.
So, again, we already talked about where Dust is today. And then, of course, War Machine Colossals. Obviously, War Machine still very well played by those who play it.
You have a Colossal.
I do own a Colossal now. I love them. I think they add a lot. I think when you go to tournaments.
I've seen you field it yet.
I fielded it. Well, Reef and I had.
I know you have, but I haven't seen it.
Reef and I had a whole string of games where we battled each other's Colossals back and forth. I fought against other stuff. And I think you see them about half the time at tournaments. It just adds a cool dynamic and it gives War Machine that sort of GW40K feel where you have these over-the-top, just crazy models in the game now.
To me, it's an indication that they did exactly what they set out to do. They created these big, cool models that you could have, but they're not must-have models, so you don't see – it's not like every army at a tournament for War Machine has a Colossal.
Right.
Far from it. I would say the majority don't. So clearly what they've done is they've got these really cool models and you can field them and they do cool things, but they're not so over the top that everybody has to have one to be competitive.
I would say that's correct.
Which was their stated goal.
Yep. So a big one there. And of course, Gargantuans are out now too. And I think that was a good play for Privateer Press and a good addition to the game system.
Yep. And War Room is awesome.
So I think we should wrap it up here in August with our last episode from August 2012, which was episode 110, where we also snuck in a review. Craig, there were so many reviews in August. It makes up for the whole rest of the year, I think.
Russ, we did 2 reviews in episode 110.
I know. So
that's crazy.
We did 2 reviews in 110. In 109, we did 2 different books. And so, in 110, we did X-Wing.
Which is awesome, and I've played it within the last month.
And Evil Baby Orphanage.
Which is really, really funny and fun, but I haven't played it recently.
So X-Wing, of course, is fantastic. It's a game. Now, here's a game, Craig, that I have to examine my rule about factions. So it may be, is X-Wing the exception that proves the rule? I don't know.
Theme? That's 1000% theme.
So it's theme, and I think it's distinguishable by the fact that it's one of the few miniature games with 2 factions, and only 2 factions, Empire and Rebellion. And yet, it plays great, and people love it. There's enough variety in the ships, knowing the pilots slide around and everything, that there's a lot of different ways you can build your lists.
Well, it's not even that. You're not like, well, I don't know. I don't know, but I think it's theme. I think what saves the game from that faction.
Well, it's mechanics, too. The mechanics are fantastic. I think it's 2 things. The theme and the mechanics, and then they're adding on these missions with these giant ships now, too, that just came out, the Corellian Corvette and the transport. So they've added sort of that, we just talked about the Gargantuans, they've added sort of that Gargantuan feel, the Colossals from War Machine. They've added sort of that crazy, over-the-top, huge ship you get to put on the table that actually works and creates a whole new mission, a whole new way to play, in addition to a whole new piece of terrain or ship. So it's really, I think, just a fantastic implementation. Fantasy Flight really knocked it out of the park with this. And you can see how the attention to detail is important. If you go look at Attack Wing, the Star Trek version which is licensing the rules by WizKids, game with the same mechanics, people seem to like it a lot, which is great. But some of the attention to details turned me off over there. They didn't preserve scale as well. They didn't do as good a job at painting. The models don't look quite as good.
Not at all.
And so the X-Wing side, it's like you want to have them just to collect the models. And then also, by the way, it plays the game. Whereas the Star Trek one is not quite that level. So you really see, I think you're right.
No, they look like the Micro Machines or any of the other Star Trek little small versions of the ships that you can get.
So that is, that's X-Wing. And of course, Evil Baby Orphanage. It's a good filler game. I break it out once in a while and play it. It's fun.
Yep. I know it was played at our Adepticon board game night.
Yeah. Fun and fast. It's a good game. A great little filler if you like fun and you like evil babies.
Yes, indeed. Well, there are those evil babies.
So, Craig, I think they're about to kick us out here at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, we've overstayed our welcome once again.
There we go. We made it to episode
Finish
110.
up your crawler.
Nice.
Yeah, we did not make it out of 2012.
It looked like it was going to be fast, no problem, but then we just packed the summer full of reviews, and it slowed us
That's true.
down,
We
which is
did
good.
catch up in the summer.
So we can return to this later. We like to do that from time to time. So coming at you from Dunkin' Donuts, we're going to say sign off here, and before they close, I got to go grab a coffee with extra cream.
Sayonara.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.